Sadly, the TERFs weren't alone. A certain bread tuber and former employee of neo-Nazi Ian Miles Chong, who also, by the way, had groomed a minor until she was of age, Peter Coffin, stated that, quote, "I have no ill will towards any trans celebrity, but their experience is easy. They have access to great medical care and get Twitter trends reminding everyone what to call them. The misconception of trans issues as bourgeoisie becomes more difficult to resist due to this. A large part of the country's only touchpoint with trans issues is through Caitlyn Jenner or whoever, and they basically erase class from the equation. It becomes aspirational content rather than a struggle for self-actualization. Then a family member comes out as trans, other family members' response is coloured by the fact that this is, in the media, a rich people issue. I do not hate the rich, but I do think the media mode of acceptance is ultimately poison and will eventually use the issue as a niche market. Trans issues are explicitly exacerbated by class, and while I do believe rich trans people struggle, I think the poor struggle more due to the misconception of transness. This is directly copied from them as aspirational rather than three-dimensional experience. Mascot politics is bad. Marketing as politics is also bad. This is not a consumer demographic and should not be seen as one." End quote. Which, again, considering this followed immediately after Laverne Cox being assaulted, like, they talk about the fact that we're we're erasing class from the equation. No one has fucking done that. They're the one that's, like, erasing other issues on the equation. Like, they are a class reductionist. That is Peter Coffin's big thing. They don't give a fuck about anything else. And it's like, another thing I noticed about them is the fact that Peter Coffin is a fucking internet celebrity. So this idea that they can judge like a film celebrity on this ground is absolute bullshit. Like, for example, one thing I've noticed about this class reductionist and a lot of other class reductionists is how they hide their total Patreon income and fail to declare other sources of income. You know, it's almost like they don't actually want you to know how much they're earning, so you can make a judgment about where they are on that economic ladder. For those who don't know, Peter Coffin earns a lot from Patreon. They also do a lot of work on the sideline, working for, I think, GameRanks, I think it is. Falcon from GameRanks that's them. They get paid to do that and other appearances. So, you know, it's really quite telling the fact that Peter Coffin thinks they have any sort of grounds to throw stones from this glass house.
Hang on, I'm sorry, I have to interrupt. Just, if you look, I hid a comment, and I imagine you might want to yell at the person. I'm not sure, so just drawing your attention to it.
I'll have to have a look.
Especially since hiding the comment doesn't remove it from the actual thing built into the stream.
They did. The person was admittedly a minor. They groomed her for years until she came of age, and like they claimed they had no sexual intercourse before that. I don't give a fuck. If you are a predatory fucking person, like, you know, hanging around, waiting for someone to come of age to like sexually take them, that is predatory behavior. That is grooming.
That's literally just the definition of grooming. Is you establish a relationship with a minor, and you know you gain their trust and make them comfortable, and then sexually exploit them. It doesn't matter if you wait until they come of age. You know what that is you're doing the thing in a way that will avoid legal consequences for you. That doesn't make it better. It means that you know exactly what you're doing and you're skirting around the law to do it.
Yeah.
So, fuck you, person who said that.
Like,
fuck you.
Again, they say they didn't do anything before. They say.
Which, of course, no one's going to admit.
I don't fucking trust the one who worked for a neo-Nazi for years. You can
now that you point it out, I don't trust anyone who says they didn't do anything sexual before this person came of age, because you're not going to say, no one's going to say, oh yes, I had sex with this person while they were a minor. No one's going to say that.
No. Later on, Peter Coffin, they'd go on to claim that they were actually worried that Elliot coming out would lead other trans people to suddenly believe that transphobia had vanished from society, and that they'd come out, receive transphobic violence, and like suffer as a consequence of that. And it's like, it shows just how fucking detached they are from the general trans experience, that they genuinely believe a star coming out and receiving considerable transphobic abuse, maybe not from the mainstream at this time, but all those fucking lesbians throwing out the shit. And there were other people also, again, attacking Elliot. Like, people see this. Apparently, seeing all the abuse is going to convince them that transphobia is no longer a problem. It was quite clearly a reach. They realized they'd fucked up, and they just reached for the first excuse they could come up with. Again, Peter Coffin is so fucking detached from just everything that goes on. It's amazing how, like, they pretend everyone else is in this ivory tower, this elitism going on, and it's like, you are the epitome of everything you like talk about.
It's like, I know that money means you don't experience transphobia, because I personally don't, because of all the money I have.
Like, it's just... there was a fucking story that I wanted to do. It was going to be the third one back when we had two, which was going to be the impact of the UK's media on trans mental health. Spoiler alert, it was very heavily impacted negatively. Sadly, I couldn't gain access to the full one. I could only gain access to articles discussing it, so I didn't want to, just discuss some articles. But, we know transphobia is a fucking thing. And you really think you have the right to talk about, fucking class and stuff when you're out there, 600 patrons, you're getting extra money from groups that were set up by fucking neo-Nazis, on the side, without declaring any of this, by the way. Let me just state, by the way, I've been meaning to say this for a while. Essence of Thought has kept its Patreon income public, and we intend to do that in perpetuity. Is that the word?
I am not sure.
Permanently? We intend to do that because we want you to know exactly how much money is coming in and how we are spending that money. If it gets to the point where one of us is earning, minimum wage, we will go on to hire another person. That is the point of the channel. It's not just funneling money to one person. The plan of the channel is to build outward. But yeah.
Yeah, if we get enough money, we can hire another person. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink.
Goza, they are non-binary, so they, them. Just pointing out. But yes, so... I grew up in a fucking domestic violence refuge for a while, and then to council housing. People don't understand that because they hear my accent and they think, you must be upper class, British. No, I have a Dutch mother who speaks a very academic style of English because it isn't her first language, though she has started thinking in English now. I also have various quirks due to being neurodivergent that make me say things in a certain style that to some people sounds upper class. But I grew up in a council house for the majority of my life. And not nice council houses. I remember a cupboard falling on top of me because they had decided to screw the thing into plaster rather than finding out where the wooden slats were. we also had the back door wasn't open. We were in that house for I think 12 years. The back door never opened because the house sunk. The back door got trapped. We called the council. They never came out. They never came out to fix that fucking back door in all our time there. So, you know, and yet Peter fucking Coffin comes along and acts like they've got some sort of, like, claim to class. It's just, it really fucking pisses me off. So, yeah, that's all I really have to say. I don't know if you have anything else you want to add.
No, I generally have a policy of avoiding Peter Coffin, so
I do too.
Admit, I don't.
I do too. It's just, I came through on this, and it's just like such a terrible fucking take. And again, the whole hiding the fucking income and not being open about the fact that they are being paid for other jobs as well.
Yeah.
Like, that is such a fucking dodgy thing to me. I hate it when fucking
Classic
creators do that. Yeah, they all do it. Natalie does it. Everyone else does it. It's just like I don't see why you would do that. Like, it gets updated when the funds come through and things get checked. It gets updated constantly. It's going up and down when the money goes through at the start of the month.
You know why they do it, Ethel, is so that they can convince you to give them money they don't need because they don't care. For someone who's bred to, they really don't care that much about the lower class. They really don't care that much about hoarding wealth.
Like,
bastards.
When you see the Patreon for Essence of Thought, that is how much we have to run the channel. That is it. I can't do any other work. But yeah. So I think that's actually the end of the show. It's been a long show.
If you want, I can dunk on Suzanne Moore for a bit. Otherwise, yeah, we can have a show.
I think we'll just have to pack it up here.
Yeah, tired.
If anyone has any questions, we'll probably hang around for a few minutes, answer any of those. I'm just about to do a coughing fit. If you could do like the Patreon thing.
Patreon thing? Wait, the what now? I don't have that. I'm assuming you have it scripted.
I was just
going
to mention the facts that we no longer monetize the channel, so the only source of income is Patreon. So hey, we were just talking about it. If any of you want to support us via Patreon, that would be very much appreciated.
Especially because I'm not getting paid for any of this. I do it all voluntarily.
Yeah. We talked about this at the start.
Yep.
You approached me, remember?
I'm not complaining. Like I said, I'm doing it voluntarily. I'm agreeing to do this of my own free will. But, you know, it would help if this could eventually become a living for me as well.
Yeah. I do wonder that too, Linda, but it's very dodgy ground to walk on. It's just the way that Peter Coffin seems to have zero understanding of any aspect of transphobia. And they also donate to transphobes. I keep forgetting that. On Patreon, they donate to a transphobe. And it's something that everyone always calls them out for, and they just ignore it. So yeah. Again, we are currently working on our Lily Orchard video. That is going... Oof, it's going somewhere. I've actually been starting to write a little bit on that because I've not been well enough to start reading the Dash Family. So I thought I'd start working on some summaries. But yeah, it's just... I've forgotten who it is. Yeah, go check. Twitter's going to be able to tell you fucking instantly. Yeah, so I think that's it, really. I haven't really seen any questions pop up, so yeah. How are trans women? If you answer that they are women.
No, it doesn't. Fuck you,
doesn't.
Donald.
Trans women are... because they have this... their psychological sex makes women.
Okay, here's the way gender works. Is you can't point to anything physically about the body that makes you a certain gender, because gender is a psychological phenomenon. If you just look at gender roles, like that can't be physical. Gender roles, gender expression, I know that isn't gender, but these social constructs, they're too complicated to be a physical thing you can point to on the body. Like, gender is a psychological phenomenon. It affects how you feel and how you think and how you interact with the world. That's too complicated to be physical. So the way you determine someone's gender is you just have to ask them and, believe them when they tell you. It's like saying, how can we tell if someone's gay or straight or bi or asexual or whatever? Can you point to a gene? It's like the whole gay gene thing. It's too complicated for that. You just have to ask people and believe them. And for some reason, you can do that just fine with sexuality some of the time, but not for trans people.
We're like, again, I stated this in my last video. I would love for us to actually be able to map out the mind to an extent that we can actually pinpoint like what chemical, structural, or electrical element gives a person their gender or their sense of gender. We can't do that right now. We can't do that until transphobia is dealt with, because the moment we do, that's going to be turned around for eugenics.
Yeah.
We just received a $5 donation from Little Greenleg. Do you have an opinion on the best places to donate to help people affected by the Bell v. Tavistock case? I was looking into this. I haven't found one. There was one which is the I think it might be Liberty, but I can't remember. That there's the people who are doing 2 legal cases against the whole thing, a 2-pronged legal case. But like, I was looking at them last night. They had already raised 18,000 out of 20,000. I went out for a walk, came back. They were like 400 pounds away from their goal. So like, don't need to do that. So like, they've like, the legal case is going well. As for supporting people, I can only suggest mermaids. Like, that's generally a good one. I was hoping to have time to look into other orgs, but I just sadly, with everything that's been going on, I haven't had the time. Yeah.
Maybe we'll be able to find something for next week. We'll see. Next fortnight. There's also, you can tweet about it.
Yeah.
If you find anything.
There is no soul.
So just back to the like, how do you know trans women are women thing? I can't answer that question because, not a trans woman, but like, personally, the way I know what my gender is because I tried being a woman and it's nearly killed me. That's how I know. I know this person is a troll because like, you can't watch everything we talked about and try the whole, these terms are meaningless now in the face of people dying. But like, just remember that the reason why I live my life as a man is specifically so I don't die. That's the entire reason. So I don't die.
And again, I dealt with this in the last video. Like, they used the analogy of like, well, it's like a person not knowing which direction is north. And it's like, what north? True north? Grid north? Astronomical north? Magnetic north? 2 of these change. 2 of these are entirely arbitrary. So, yeah.
And use the metaphor of a GPS, which uses triangulation. And like, the thing with that is you can navigate based on, like, here's the thing. If I give you a map of a territory you're completely unfamiliar with and tell you which way is north, you can't really navigate with that because you have no idea where you are and you have no idea where you're going. But with something like a GPS showing a detailed overhead of where you are, then you can see, there's a river here, there's a lake, there's a forest. I need to go to this place. There's a town. And that's kind of how it works, is where you know what gender is within your culture, and you know how you feel, and you can kind of feel it out and feel, okay, I need to go towards this thing here. That's where I need to be. If you're thirsty, you need to go towards a river. If you're feminine, you go towards what femininity is in your culture, and you can figure it out that way. It's complicated, and what it basically boils down to, in my experience and from what I've heard from a lot of trans people, is you kind of just feel it out and you know what you need. The way you tell what someone's gender is is you let them figure it out, and they tell you, and you believe them, because the alternative is people being like people identify the way they do for a reason. It's because we need to be happy and comfortable and alive. So just take people at their word, please. For fuck's sake.
In that line, Esmeralda Lily Wing, sorry, I'm really tired at this point, has donated $10. Respect what people ask you to call them. We only know ourselves. Trying to explain this to my child. They are very soft-hearted. Yeah. And that's why, like, regardless of doubts, still respect. Like, even if you have a nagging feeling, still use the correct pronoun, still use the correct name, respect them in that regard. Like, there's a lot of reasons to hate certain people, and you can do that without being transphobic.
Yep. We have this problem where we hate people with the wrong things instead of hating people for being malicious or, you know, being careless, things that can hurt people, things that make the world a worse place. What do we hate them for? We hate them for being trans. We hate them for being quote unquote stupid. I really think about the reasons you hate people and think, is this something to hate someone for? If a person was only this thing, if a person is only trans without doing the bad thing that you're supposedly criticizing them for, would you hate them? Hopefully not. So why are you using transphobia to hurt this person you don't like for unrelated reasons?